Welcome into another edition of Inside Carolina's Round the Base Path.
Inside the bases?
Inside the Base Path.
We'll work on it.
Weekend wrap. We'll work on it. Submit your show questions or your show titles here. That's Grace and Nugent. I'm Tommy Ashley. We're sponsored by Johnny T-Shirt and Congruity. Carolina sweeps Texas Tech here in Boschheimer, right behind us. Grace, I'm going to start like the series started. Jason DeCaro comes out, pitches a gem, and it just kind of flows from there for Carolina's pitchers all weekend.
We talked about it preseason. If Jason is on, he is a scary, scary beast to face, and he was 5 innings, scoreless. I believe it was 6 strikeouts. He really set the tone for the whole weekend, and head coach Scott Forbes has talked about that before. That's what you need your Friday starter to do, to set the tone. He did it. Jake Knapp had his return. He came in after Jason. The Texas Tech hitters had some hard contact, but Kane Kepley had heroics in the outfield with a home run robbery, and this is just the beginning for Jake Knapp. I think that he's not going to be back in his full form until March. He hasn't pitched in 623 days during a game on the mound, so it's just going to take time, and Forbes and the pitching staff, they know that, and they're going to keep giving Jake situations to get better, because the only thing he can do now is face live hitters. And then it was ended by, right, as Forbes just told us, presumably for now, the UNC closer, Matty Matthias, and he did great. He shut the game down. He did it with the game that we just saw as well. And the 3 people who really emerged are 3 freshmen. And it started with Walker McDuffie in the second game of the doubleheader yesterday. If you see him, he has glasses. He looks like he should be Wild Thing for Major League. But he goes out there. Forbes talked about it. He looks kind of unassuming, and he goes out there, boom, 94 miles per hour, and he has a wicked slider that he utilizes. And he was great middle relief yesterday. He earned the win. And then today, it was Cameron Seagraves, who came in for a shorter stint, which Forbes said he anticipated, and he did well, solid foundation. But then I think the real gem was Ryan Lynch, who tossed 4 scoreless, 7 Ks, and he got that fastball up to 96 miles per hour multiple times. He's only a freshman. It's his first college start, and he has a really wicked, some other off-speed pitches that this is just going to help Forbes even more. He's going to have to figure out what he's going to do with these pitchers, but he has a lot of solid options.
Yeah, Ryan Lynch, every bit of 6'3", 235. We talked to him in the postgame, very collected, very well-spoken young man. I think this guy can develop into a starter. He said he's there to do whatever they need. But like you said, Grace, Forbes has options across the pitching staff. We saw the 3 freshmen. We saw Knapp. We saw Boaz, DeCaro, Mateus. And there's still plenty of other guys out there for this next weekend. You got A&T possibly. You got Kansas State possibly. And I say possibly because of the weather. If you look out here now, it's about 40 degrees and misting. And they played today, not baseball weather. But your thoughts on where they can go from here? DeCaro's the only guy I think he really established himself as the starter. Where do you think it goes just a week into the season?
He has so many options. He didn't even start or put in any of the grad transfers that he brought in. And I totally glazed over the fact that Folger came in and was 3 balls away from an immaculate inning, striking out all 3 guys he faced to close out the first game. I believe it was, the second game of Friday.
The nightcap
of Friday. So he's got so many options. I think you can basically guarantee you will be seeing Jason DeCaro next Friday against ECU. And then I think Lynch has all of the intangibles and the pitching stuff to be a starter if he wants to use him in that way. He even floated the idea of him as a closer because he has that high velocity stuff. I personally would like to see Jake Knapp as in a closer role, him or Matty. I think those 2 would be perfect. But he has so many options. I think it would be really terrible if they didn't get to play the midweeks because that'll really show him where the pitchers fit in. We haven't even talked about Cam Padgett yet. I know that Forbes likes Cam out of the bullpen. We saw Kyle Percival, who didn't have the greatest outing. Olin Johnson today also didn't have the greatest outing, but Forbes said he believes in both of them. And I think if they get more time on the mound, they're going to improve, finally seeing live hitters that are not their own team. And the only way left to go, I think this is a really, really solid foundation. Both at the pitching level, he has so much potential. And then defensively, I think we only had one UNC error for the weekend, which was Jackson Vanderbrake, who's an older guy who will 100% say, that's my bad, I take that one, that's my fault. Kane Kepley, heroics in center field. Sports Center Top 10 thinks so too. Tyson Bass had one today, absolutely laid out for a ball, and then he just holds it over his head in the most nonchalant Tyson Bass way possible. Rom Kellis is still kind of acclimating to that left field, but last year their worst defensive outfielder was left field, and it still went pretty well for them. And then the infield, Gavin is just not really doing well at the plate, but Forbes said if there's one person he's never concerned about, it's Gavin Gallagher, and his defense has been stellar. Alex Madera, I think if I had to give a defensive star to the weekend, it would be Alex Madera. He's made some great backhanded, some throws on the run, getting them all over to Hunter Stokely at first, who is acclimating well to both the double bases and just to being back playing. And then I think more time you give Jackson at second, he and Alex will work together, and it'll be great. But it is a great foundation to start the season on.
Absolutely. Kind of a new style of baseball for North Carolina. You don't have the flash of Vance Honeycutt, but like you mentioned, Kane Kepley getting it done. The home run robbery was unexpected.
Kane's not a tall guy.
No, this is a young man who that was impressive. A nice play by him. Tyson Bass, of course. And you mentioned Rom Kellis. I think Kellis at the plate has shown some good ability there, but locking down that left field. We did not see Perry Hargett this weekend. That's another freshman that has had a lot of talk. A lot of pitchers, a lot of position players, a lot of opportunities for guys to play, but they're going to have to work hard to get in this lineup because like we saw and like you mentioned, one error on the weekend. In weather like this, one error of baseball, I think it's impressive. The pitching was solid. The situational hitting was solid, and I think they really struggled with that at times last year. But overall, Grace's gold medal goes to who this weekend?
I think it has to be Ryan Lynch.
I agree.
It's either him or it's Kane, because Kane has some big shoes to fill. He's doing it very, very admirably, very well. And I think that ties in back to the new identity of this team. It's only been one weekend series, but they're hitting these beautiful line drives right through the gaps. They're finding all the gaps. They don't have that explosive power yet. This is the first weekend. Last year they had no weekend series where they didn't hit a long ball. They also did hold a record of 115. They created that record for home runs in a single season last year. We're seeing more doubles this year, more this kind of small, scrappy, aggressive play. Rom Kellis in particular, he's hit 2 or 3 balls just down that third base line in what would be those picture-perfect hitting scenarios that really, those annoying hits if you're the other team. It's not big and loud like a home run, but they're really getting the job done. He did that today with bases loaded in the first 2 RBIs, and they went up 3-1. So, but, when you see like a star pitcher that really, star might be too early. We've seen him for one outing, but he has a lot of potential, a lot of stuff. And the more that they get kind of complex into the pitch sequencing and some of these younger guys get more comfortable, I think, and we've said this, they just have such a big depth and potential in that pen. It'll be really exciting to see kind of how Forbes shakes it all out.
Yeah, he's got some work to do. You got 20 pitchers or so on the roster. You've got a lot of guys that can play. Who gets it done? Ryan Lynch. I agree with you. I had heard about him all fall. You saw him throw in the fall. I had not seen him throw. Like I said, size, 96 on the gun, nasty slider.
I've seen 97, I think.
Well, he said himself.
He said 96, but
to be determined. Either way, he throws hard, and he's got sort of a funky, little bit lower than a 3/4 release that sort of brings it from the side, especially to the right-handed hitters. I think he's going to be a good player. Jason Akera, of course, will be the star of this pitching rotation. You mentioned Kepley. Look, it's one series, folks. Carolina won, swept Texas Tech. Texas Tech is not the greatest team they have been in the past, but you can't win them all if you don't win the first 3, and Carolina wins the first 3 in Bosch. North Carolina A&T on Tuesday, weather permitting. Kansas State on Wednesday, weather permitting. And then the East Carolina series.
Welcome to the jungle.
The Jungle Friday night, Deep App Saturday afternoon, and here in Bosch next Sunday afternoon. It's going to be an interesting time for Carolina. It gets hot quick. It might not be hot in the stands, but it'll be hot on the field with those teams coming around for North Carolina. Stay tuned to Inside Carolina. I'm Grace Nugent. I'm Tommy Ashley. Johnny T-shirt and Congruity sponsor us. We'll see you at the Bosch.